Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific North, fresh from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
Oh, baby, the Mariners.
Oh, baby, the Mariners is right, and lucky you. The next episode is going to be a Mariners episode. This one is not. We're still kind of going on the train. We did a little smasher pass. We did free agent wish list. Now, one of my favorite things, we're going to go to the draft. And what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to go with the same position groups that we've looked at all year: quarterback, running back, pass catchers, O line, D line slash edge, linebacker, and defensive back. And we're going to say what player we would draft. And with one of the top four draft picks that the Seahawks have, either 5, 20, 37, or 52, where we would take them out and why. And before we hop in there, let me tell you who we are. If you're looking for a draft connoisseur, I mean, there's some people that work on the draft at the NFL, and there's some people that take off work to be fully immersed in the NFL draft. And that's me, your boy, Coach Red. You can find me on Twitter at The Real Coach Red, on Instagram at The Real _ Coach Red. Hop on over and follow the YouTube page as well, Kicking It with Coach Red, or the @ is at The Real Coach Red. And while you're at it, why don't you follow the podcast page as well on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follow us, follow us, follow us. Do it, do it, do it. Lefty France is not here. He might be getting the tattoo on his chest as we speak. I do not know. And fun thing about the Coach Red Twitter for the podcast page, post today's coming out right now. There's some fun things. We've got polls running. We've got interesting tidbits and facts about Mariners and Seahawks right now. So hop on over for a good time and vote in the poll. Oh, we got more people. I mean, I just went on a rant there. If you're looking for someone that has watched maybe one college football game this year and is going to be bumbling and stumbling and rumbling all the way through this
That's
episode of the
me.
podcast, that would be your boy Kickin. Where you at?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Kickin. Also follow my show's podcast at The Cain and Day Show on YouTube and Twitter.
All right. So if you've listened to some episodes, you know we started at the quarterback and work our ways to the DBs. But oh man, you should not have got so comfortable because we are mixing it up right here, right now. Because there's could be a lot of intrigue with the quarterback pick. So we're gonna save that for last. We're gonna start with the defensive backs. Kane, where are you going? Defensive back. Who you taking? What pick are you taking them with?
I'm going to take Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois at pick 37. Because, I mean, the Seahawks, they need that other corner spot. Because it's up in the air right now. You don't know who's playing there. Because you have Tariq and Kobe getting your slot in your other court or your other outside. This is a guy that had 3 interceptions in 2022. Kind of just all over the spot. He could tackle well. It's kind of the typical Seahawk corner that they love to go after. And, Pete, lanky guys who can be in man coverage. So, where are you going?
I'm also clocking in at pick 37 here, and this is a contingency if Ryan Neal's back on the field. And it's a guy who I've seen go as high as 15, seen him a little bit later in round 2, but I'm going to go with versatile safety Brian Branch out of the University of Alabama. Play in the box, he can play high, he gives you versatility. He's a good piece whether you have injuries that come or if you're getting towards that next contract for Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams and you don't think that they're at that pace. Brian Branch is a guy that's going to fit in pretty well. He has that scheme versatility, which I think you do get a little bit with Ryan Neal. He's not going to be your best over the top guy, but he's a guy that's played on a very competitive program and was a leader of that defensive backfield that has pumped DBs into the league consistently over the last decade. When you have the leader of that squad coming into the NFL, they typically do pretty well. And I think that Brian Branch could be a good fit for the Seahawks, especially if Ryan Neal goes on to another team.
That's fair.
All right. The next spot we will go is the linebacker position. Kane, where are you going?
Linebackers. I'm gonna go with Trenton Simpson out of Clemson at
Stud.
pick 20.
Stud muffin.
At 20. Don't want to really. I mean, you can waste one at 5,
No, you're not taking
but
linebacker at 5.
no, I know.
No, 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 no.
That's why I said you can waste one at 5, but they're most likely not going to do it. They usually wait later for a linebacker. But if a guy like this falls to you at 20, you snatch him up. He is a monster tackler. That is the one thing. Clemson has bred linemen in these last, I want to say, 5 years. You just see all of these defensive studs coming out of there, and Dabo Sweeney does a great job coaching them up. Again, one of those perfect guys for the Seahawks fit, where you're gonna have Jordan Brooks, hopefully Cody Barton back, and you throw this guy in the mix. That's one of the scariest trio I think you would see in the NFL. So, where are you going with linebackers?
Linebackers, I'm going to go with a guy in the mold if I'm going to replace Cody Barton. And where was the biggest deficiency for the Seahawks this year? And it was stopping the run. I want a guy that I don't need to play in third down. You know, he can play the early downs. I'll find a different linebacker to come in, but this guy is an absolute thumper. Before the season was looked at as a first round lock and has been sliding a little bit, and that is Noah Sewell out of the University of Oregon. And I know I'm wearing the UW hat and I'm proposing we take an Oregon guy. It's a little sacrilege, but here we go. We're doing it anyways. He's got some good athletic ability, but coverage is not one of his strong suits. This is a guy that's going to go meet someone in the hole and inflict damage. And if you listened to the last podcast where we went free agent wish list, I want some thumpers in the middle. I want the middle of this defense to be scary again, like it was with the Legion of Boom when you had KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas patrolling the middle of that field. It was a no-fly zone, and they would just erase the run. He's not going to give you 3-down versatility. That's why I'm going to take him at pick 52 because I think he's been sliding. But I think in the right scheme fit and with Pete Carroll, he has an innate way of putting players in the best position early in their careers, especially on defense.
All right. Love to
All
see
right.
it.
The defensive line / edge. Who are you going with here?
All right. We're going 5th pick, and you see Alabama. The edge rusher, Will Anderson Jr., in 3 years with that Alabama squad. And it, like you said, with the DBs, same thing with the edge rushers. They produce. I mean, in 3 years, the dude had 34 and a half sacks. That's amazing for somebody in college. And not to mention his 2021 season clocked in at 17 and a half. Monster numbers. And you're going to throw him on a Seahawks defensive line that improved a lot this last year. You saw a lot of good production out of it towards the end of the season.
Out of the edge room, yes.
Yes. And so you add another guy of this caliber, and it's just a no-brainer, in my opinion. It kind of like Aiden Hutchinson last year going to Detroit. It was the clear pick. Where are you going on edge or defensive line?
I'm also slotting it at pick 5 right here. And if he's available, the Seahawks should not waste any time on sprinting this card up to the front. That's defensive tackle Jalen Carter out of Georgia. This dude has the potential and the physical presence to be a complete run stuffer and be a penetrating force and create pass rush and pressure from the interior. What you saw, especially with like Puna Ford this year, kind of playing out of position. And I think with Jalen Carter, you insert him on this team next to run stuffer Al Woods and Shelby Harris. Those are two very veteran guys that he can learn from, but he should be able to bring you some pressure from the interior. And when you look at Jeffrey Simmons, you look at a Deron Payne, if you look at Quinnen Williams, if you look at Aaron Donald, those guys wreak havoc from the middle and help out their edge rushers. I think that you have a young group in the edge rushers headlined by Chinny Nwosu, only guy on a second contract. You have Boye Mafe and Daryl Taylor that are more so emerging, kind of finding their footing more and more. Help them out by helping out your weakest point, which is your run defense, being able to solidify that, but also give that pass rush upside that Jalen Carter can bring you, because then it's havoc along that line. You also got Quentin Jefferson still patrolling on this team, who's got some inside outside flexibility. I think Jalen Carter can't miss. I would run this thing into run it to the table. We're not taking the 10 minutes on this big. We're taking 1 second. Write it down.
Yeah, if he's there, you take it, because the reports that I've seen recently are people saying that Jalen Carter is the best player in this draft, hands down, best player in the draft because of how versatile he can be.
Well, Will Anderson's up there too. Dude's a physical freak. So I
Right.
mean, if the Seahawks pick at 5 is either of these guys, I'm not gonna be mad about it.
Exactly.
All right, we're gonna go to the offensive line. Kane, what you thinking?
I'm thinking at pick 20 that you're gonna go with Peter Skorinski
Peter
out of North
Skoronsky.
Skoronski out of
I gave
Northwestern.
listen before you go into your breakdown. I gave you some good instruction because I know you're not the biggest college guy. On do you need help pronouncing anyone's name? Nope, nailed it. Peter Skoronsky. Repeat it back. Well, I'm waiting.
Peter Skoronski. There you
There we
go.
go. Nailed it. Out of
The
Northwestern.
dude only allowed 6 pressures from his side on 747 pass attempts. I mean, you could throw him in on one of the guard positions since you already have your tackles kind of solidified. Just help out with that passing game. Our run game was fantastic this year. A little bit better pass protection would make Gino look 10 times better. So that's where I'm going with our 20th pick with the O lineman. Where are you going?
I want to touch on Skoronsky a little bit. One, I don't think he'll be there at 20. But two, I heard an interesting take from one of the podcasts I listen to called The Draft Dudes. That's why I'm pretty dialed in on the draft. I listened to a podcast about the NFL draft, and they do it year round. But they had a question that was posed to them about Jackson Carman, who's an offensive lineman for the Bengals. He was a tackle in college, I believe at Clemson, and got bumped into guard his rookie year. Did not play very well. With the injuries they had late in the year, he gets bumped out to tackle and actually plays pretty well. So one of the things they talked about, should you let tackles that you draft work themselves into the inside, not put them there because you have a fit. Because some of these guys have been playing tackle their entire career. So does it make sense to bump them in, make them learn a new position while also making the change to the NFL game? That can be tough. Skoronsky is very versatile. He's played on both sides of the line, but has primarily played at tackle. So could be a little bit of an area where moving him in should work for him with arm size, but you never know. Some of those tackles only like to be on the outside. But I'm also going to go offensive line at pick 20, and it is John Jacob Jingleheimer, John Michael Smiths out of the University of Minnesota. So he's the best center prospect on the board, hands down, no doubt about it. And center, I think, is the weakest point. I think if you're keeping Gabe Jackson around, I You heard in my smash or pass. You heard in my free agency. I want Phil Haynes back. You can get him at cheap. The dude's a mauler. He already's got continuity on this line. You bring a young center in who's hands down the best center in the class. The dude owned at the Senior Bowl last week. The practices, there was one dominant player at the Senior Bowl, and it was John Michael Schmitz. He's worked his way into first round contention. And I think that if you have him there at pick 20, that's a great pick for the Seahawks. It's their weakest point along the line, even with Gabe Jackson and his old ass knees. But you're sitting there, you've got Austin Blythe and Kyle Fuller, who are your two centers. Unless you're going to get wild and move Damian Lewis inside, which he played one game at center his rookie year, keep him there. Better year, evolved a little bit more, but insert this guy. Dude's a mauler. He's scheme versatile. He can go in the power game. He can go in the zone game. He can go in the stretch game. The
I
dude,
believe
it just mauls people.
I believe I saw some clips of him blocking, and yeah, the dude is a straight up baller. Like he just throws some hands. It's
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
And big shout out if the Seahawks want to go guard later in the draft. Jackson Kirkland, probably around 3 or 4 guy, was looked at as a potential first round guy a few years ago before he had some injuries pop up. Last year, he gets bumped down to guard and first team All Pac 12. And the dude's been an All American at tackle. So if you're looking for someone later and you want to go dubs up, then you go Jackson Kirkland later in the draft. But we're not going that late. All right. Next position of choice, we are going to the pass catchers. Could be a tight end, could be a wide receiver. I don't think it's going to be a tight end because there's already 3 that are getting paid on the roster. Where are you going? Killing King.
I
He's like, I'm going with the tight end.
no, actually, I'm not. I'm going with Jordan Addison out of USC at pick number 37, if he would fall there. But at 37, I would take Jordan Addison. His numbers look good. I mean, when you had the Heisman winner thrown to you, I mean, makes you look a lot better.
Get better numbers the year prior at Pitt.
It's true.
Bolitnikoff winner.
His year prior, as you said, 2021, 100 receptions for 1,600 yards, 17 touchdowns. One thing that you love to see is his average per reception would be the last 2 years around 15 and 16. Some guy that you can kind of space out with DK and Lockett in there, since D Eskridge isn't playing. You don't really have anybody else. As you said prior, we have some up and coming guys like Derek Young.
D plus Derek Young in your eyes.
That's true. But get you a little bit more help on that passing game and try to free up your other 2 options as well. Because when you have 3 guys who can make spectacular plays, it's hard to double cover one. So where are you going, coach?
I flirted with a few different options here. I like Jordan Addison. I think he's going to go a little sooner than that. Jackson Smith and Jigba out of the Ohio State is an intriguing choice, probably around pick 20. But where I'm going to go is pick 52 out of SMU, Rashee Rice, little mid-major guy. And he piled on the reception. He was targeted 154 times this year. I think he hauled in 115 catches. And the guy is a possession receiver, can run that slot, can still run a little bit outside, doesn't get the most separation out of all the guys, but I think that you have 2 guys that are very good at getting separation already on the team. If you're running Lockett outside, you're running Metcalf outside, and you're running Rashee Rice out of the slot, he's going to find those pockets and be able to help you move the chains a little bit. And I think you saw a progression this year with the tight ends helping move the chains. But a wide receiver 3, it was big plays that you saw. Marquise Goodwin, big plays, big plays. It wasn't really necessarily those moving the chain type plays where you've seen in years past with the Seahawks, there are a lot of times where their offense gets stalled because they just can't find those intermediate areas to move the chains. And I think bringing a possession wide receiver, hopefully he can evolve into like a mid like Jarvis Landry, who is just a PPR monster, could catch anything. You look at a guy like Keenan Allen, who doesn't have the biggest breakaway speed. These guys just catch balls like crazy. Give the defense something else to look at to open up your two studs on the outside.
All right. Let's hope that he'll go there. So
All right,
we're
where are we going in the running back room?
so I'm going with the final pick in the second round of 52. The running back out of UCLA. His name is Zach Charbonnet. Can you throw a little accent on there?
Zach
Um,
Charbonnet?
yeah. So you're looking at 2 years of over 1,000 yards. His 2022 was improved on less attempts. So he had about 200 more yards, one more touchdown. His average looked a little better. He can get you bust off that long one for you, and he's not bad receiving wise either. Give a little help to Kenneth Walker. Your running back room's kind of getting depleted. Travis Homer can't ever stay healthy. DJ Dallas getting hurt a lot as well. Can't have all the load on Kenneth Walker, so get another young guy in there who's going to help get that 1-2 punch going. Where are you going?
Pick 37. I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs, running back out of Alabama. So Jahmyr Gibbs, where he shined, he's a little undersized, but can still tote the rock. Did so in the SEC. But where he really brings a ton of value is in the pass catching game, and could easily slot in early as a third down back. And I'd like to see Kenneth Walker not tote the rock 25 plus times a game for an entire season. So Jahmyr Gibbs can relieve that, but high producer out of Alabama, worked with Bryce Young, who we may or may not talk about next. We will have to wait and see. But he's a guy that is not going to be slotted in, will be best in a timeshare. And I think that the Seahawks are set up for a timeshare with Kenneth Walker, where I want that timeshare to be like 65 to 70% Kenneth Walker and 35 to 30% someone else, because I want to keep it fresh. I want people to stay fresh throughout the game. And Jahmyr Gibbs gives you something that you haven't really had, even though you have Travis Homer, who's a great third down back in the blocking scheme. DJ Dallas, they can all catch the ball in the backfield, but you don't have a dynamic pass catching type running back on this roster right now, and you haven't had one for a while. So I think this could really augment the dynamic of that game. And hopefully, I mean, crossing my fingers, the Seahawks could learn how to run running back screen efficiently with a dynamic pass catcher out of the backfield, because they're better at running tight end screens than they are running back screens. Let's be honest.
I agree.
The Coop de Gras, the trigger man, the quarterback. Kane, where are you going for
So,
the quarterback?
I'm kind of torn thinking about it realistically because at if I'm drafting for the Seahawks, I am gonna take Will Levis at pick 5. The dude is a gun slinger, been comparable to Josh Allen. And yes, Josh Allen's first couple of years were rough, but he really turned it around. And he may not have looked the greatest this last season, but still had a fantastic year in the last couple of years. Will Levis is basically him, Josh Allen 2.0. I mean, he throws for over 2,400 yards in a season with a Kentucky team that's not really ever known for football. I mean, they're a basketball school, so you don't ever really see big names come out of there. And one of my buddies is a huge Kentucky fan and has just praised Will Levis all year long. I don't see Bryce Young being there at 5. I don't see CJ Stroud being there at 5. And Will Levis is the perfect fit, I think, for this team. Where are you
Okay.
going, coach?
I very few mock drafts I'm seeing have Will Levis going after CJ Stroud. We must be looking at different mocks.
I
Must be looking at
I
different ones.
I don't trust Ohio State quarterbacks. Um
Joe Burrow,
so
he went to Ohio State.
yeah, but he never played.
Fair point.
He never played. Look
Yeah.
at the last like 6 quarterbacks that have come out of Ohio State. Cardinal Jones, where's he? Nowhere. Justin Fields is a running back. Who's the other guy that they had that won him a national championship? There's Cardell Jones, and then the other guy played on the Chargers.
That was Cardell Jones. Are you thinking Dwayne Haskins?
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins also wasn't that great in the league. I did think he was gonna get the starting position this year, and then the unfortunate happened. But they just they're good college quarterbacks. That's what the system is built for, as a college quarterback, and I just don't think they're that good. But teams seem to think that they are, and I I don't know. I think he will go before Will Levis.
Well, at pick 5, I'm going to go with Will Levis, and I know that I've talked to you about him, so you took my things about Josh Allen, my hot take.
I have been that is the most I've seen about him when I'm like also talking to Ben.
So you know about Will Levis. What's he put in his coffee? What's he putting there? A little cream, a little sugar. What's he put?
I don't know his
Mayo.
personal
He
life.
puts mayo in it. Learn your stuff, Kane. God. All right, Will Levis. What I'm going to look at is Kentucky has been more up and coming, especially with him at quarterback. They've had some runs in the football arena where they play better. 2021 was one of those years. He had Wandale Robinson. Wandale Robinson was a guy who had over 1,000 yards. Catching the rock from him was the second round draft pick by the Giants. He lost multiple offensive linemen to the draft last year that have played pretty well. And I'm blanking on names right now because I'm all about Will Levis. Will Levis is the type of quarterback that the Seahawks would want to go and get. Reason being, when you look at the Seahawks, there was rumors that they were trying to trade for the number 1 overall pick the year that the Browns took Baker Mayfield number 1 overall. If they would have traded Russell Wilson for that pick and other picks, they were taking Josh Allen. He's got a combination of size, speed, and athletic ability. He can throw the ball a country mile, and he has running ability. Granted, running ability is not what sets you apart. That's why I hate the Lamar Jackson to the Seahawks, because he is a running quarterback. Justin Fields, he
he's a
hasn't
running
discerned
back.
himself yet. He hasn't had a line, so he's running for his life. But
They're running backs.
we're not going to be running Will Levis into straight
You're
dive
not.
plays or anything like that. You're
Yeah,
going to be
you're not
running
gonna
like
have.
naked boots and stuff like that, where he's got the option, make one read. If it's not there, you take off, you get 8 yards.
Exactly.
Because he's got the physical traits to be able to do it. Big, tall presence in the quarterback. Don't know how well he would fit in with his coffee take in the city of Seattle. You aren't going to Starbucks saying, "Yeah, throw a little mayo in there for me," because it's not gonna happen. They're gonna run you out of that place so GD quick. It's gonna be crazy. But
Yeah.
Will Levis, I've seen multiple trade packages where people are trading up to the number 1 pick, and Will Levis is the pick, even ahead of Bryce Young. I think that if Will Levis is on the board, it makes a strong case, especially if you have a Jalen Carter and Will Anderson off the board.
Yeah.
So if they're off the board, you could look quarterback, you could look trade back. But if Will Levis is on the board, I think the Seahawks, it's their type of guy. It's the guy that they wanted to draft a few years ago. 2.0, as you said, not
Yeah.
0.2. So
Yeah. If I'm a super high guy on Josh Allen. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league, and just would love to see it on the Seahawks. Really would.
and that's going to wrap it up for this episode. But before you wrap up whatever you're doing, why don't you hop over, follow some social media? Me on Twitter at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, YouTube page at the real Coach Red, or search Kicking It with Coach Red. It'll pop up there as well. Podcast page, Twitter, Insta at Coach Red Pod. And while you're at it, I know Lefty France isn't here today, but if he were, he probably would have tried to take the top player at each position and taking them at number 5 after his spending spree in free agency. He's like, you know what? We don't need money. We don't need picks. We're just all going number 5, baby. Let's go. But he's at Lefty France on Twitter and at DFrance13 on Instagram. Kane, where you at?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Killing Kane, and also follow my show, The Kane and Day Show, at YouTube and Twitter.
You're a co-host on this show now. You need to stop that ish. Welcome to the squad. Hey, and as always, stay fresh, peeps. Stay fresh. Peace.